improve the sort of consciousness that animals have and the consciousness that humans have. Now, they may respond to the same stimuli if you need animals to see things and respond to things. But human perception is tied to language and to this kind of reflexive subjectivity, that they respond to things as particular things, and that they're able to suffer in a stronger sense than animals would suffer, because they can reflect upon their own sensations. So I think that's a crucial.
Well, first I would say that today's scientists asked the question, are monkeys self-aware? Not chimpanzees, not great apes, but monkeys. I think our failing to understand what the other animals are all about is our failing, not their failing. I really wanted to address a nutritional point because I've been vegan since 1989. I have many friends who have vegan children whom they've raised vegan since they were in the womb. The nutritional information here, the science is extremely clear. Every nutrient that's needed by human beings can be obtained through plants. You just have to be knowledgeable about what you're doing. Meanwhile, people who base their food around animal products, meat, dairy, eggs, are looking at great intake of cholesterol, great intake of saturated fat, very little fiber, the exact problems that are causing the big epidemics of our time. So I think that if you do a little bit of nutritional study, you'll find that it's great to be vegan, in fact superior.
We're out of time for questions. I'm sorry those who didn't get to see it. I know there are a lot of you, but we have to keep the thing moving. So we're going to hear final rebuttal speeches from each side. We're going to hear, those will be quite brief, and then we will have voting on the resolution in this House that believes that eating meat is unethical. So I think we'll hear from the vegetarian side first. We'll give the meat eaters the last word since the vegetarians got first. Here.
Thank you very much. I want to take the opportunity to thank the opposition for excellent debate and comments, and thank all of the floor speakers as well. We certainly have had a lot of comments. I do think that the gentleman who eats eggs should be voting for our side of it. I don't think eggs are meat, although I also agree with the comment that was made that it's not nutritionally required to eat either eggs or dairy products in order to be healthy. There's perfectly good evidence about that. I think one of the interesting remarks that was made by the opposition was Peter Wick's comment that he's not in favour of killing Gracie the cat. And I think we have to ask, well, why not if Gracie were good to eat? And let's say, since you're not against an industrial production, animal production was not produced industrially, as most cats are not. So it's not that most people don't eat cats. Most people in this country don't eat dogs either, but there are, of course, some countries in which dogs are eaten. And we often have a lot of revulsion against that. We think it's horrible. We want to boycott them or whatever because they eat dogs. But if you take that view, well, why are you eating pigs, for example? If you saw the film Babe, you know that pigs are just as intelligent as dogs. Gather the sheep together and separate them and all the rest of them with a bit of training. They're social animals. So if we kept them as companions and didn't keep dogs as companions, maybe we would feel the other way around. But I think we should be, base our judgments about what we're prepared to eat and the suffering that we're prepared to tolerate in terms not of just our emotional responses to particular animals, but in terms of an ethical response to saying there is a capacity to suffer here, there is a capacity to enjoy life, we don't need to eat them. I agree entirely with the point that was made there that this is a debate about what we need to eat in our circumstances, and for that reason I think we should make those ethical choices. Now, there are a lot of other comments. Somebody suggested, well, which meat is humanely slaughtered? But our point is that it's not just a matter of slaughter. Often slaughter is humane in this country. That's true, though there are humane slaughter laws, not for chickens, but for other animals. But are they observed? We've seen with the egg recall how woeful USDA inspectors have been about elementary health conditions that would cause salmonella. But they don't inspect the killing line usually, at all. So I think we can't have any guarantees there. If you want more guidance on how to live your life, gentlemen who asked that question, I think we're providing that guidance. The best, the most ethical diet is one that avoids meat. I think the signal that we should send out to respond to Peter Wick's point is not that wavering signal that we would like to eat more humanely raised meat. I suppose that is better than eating industrialised meat, and I'm glad, as I say, that the opposition agreed with us on that we have common ground there. But why not send a signal that doesn't leave those vagaries of needing inspection as to how the animals are treated through their lives, which we know in the commercial pressures of the market is always going to be difficult to enforce. Why not just go for the clean, clear solution of saying we're not going to eat meat, we're going to substitute for that plant foods, which where we know there isn't suffering and where we know we are causing far less of a contribution to climate change, and as was said, we are not pushing up the price of grains, which can have a harmful effect on people elsewhere in the world. Thank you. So let me just so there was also a comment from the front that from the standpoint of the vegans, we'll end up growing flesh directly. Well, let me say that if we could do that economically, I would have difficulty supporting this motion. Because if we could produce meat at the cellular level, growing meat economically in an environmentally sustainable way by, I don't know, producing some basic common substance that we could use to grow on, and we would therefore produce flesh where there's no possibility of suffering, it's environmentally sustainable, it doesn't demand a lot of grain. I'm not against eating meat as such. That's perfectly ethical meat. I also admire there's a guy in England who apparently does eat meat, but he only eats roadkill. I don't particularly admire his gustatory taste, but I do admire that, you know, as long as he's not contributing to these animals being killed, he's not hooning around the road to try and knock over a few just picking up on some other who's killed. No, I've got nothing against eating meat on that basis, but I do have a lot against eating meat that is produced today and is available in the supermarkets to eat. Thank you very much for your indulgence with that.